Dance is one of the most expressive forms of communication. At Children's Academy, this art form is taken seriously. Children who have the talent and are inclined are tapped when they are young. They are coached, mentored, and further nurtured. I have with me today Namita Bodajee. She is a former student of Children's Academy from the 1979 batch. But today, she is an internationally acclaimed Bharatnatyam dancer. So let's hear it from her. Welcome, Namita, to this interaction.
Thank you.
If I may say today, you are one of those privileged students who is a part of the humble beginning of Children's Academy. If you could share some of your fondest memories of that time.
Well, I have so many of them. To begin with, the biggest attraction for me when I joined the school was because of the dance classes.
Okay.
So I was in a different school, and I heard about this school. I heard a lot about this school from Mukundan sir, who taught me in the other school, and he left and he joined this school. So that was the first reason why I wanted to join Children's Academy. And I heard such wonderful things. I wasn't that good, when it came to academics, I wasn't that good. I was okay. So I was more into humanities.
Okay.
Back then, of course, I didn't know the word. And later I realized that, they had dance classes too. So I was quite eager. I said, that's the main attraction. So I approached Mukundan sir. And that's how I joined the school.
Okay. All right. So you've been one of those once again who was in school at the time of our founder principal H. V. Bhatt.
Yes.
In particular, would you like to mention something about him or a memory associated with him while you were in school?
The first time that I met him, I can never forget that. I was so scared, You're meeting a principal of a school. And here is a man, very serious. And Mukundan sir introduces me to him, and my mother was also there. And he tells him about me, and maybe they had already spoken. And all he says is, don't forget that, my reports were not that good. And he says, well, this girl is very smart, etc., etc. And sir just looks at me and he says, yeah, I'm sure if sir has recommended you, Mukundan sir, I'm sure, what he's saying is right. Well, make us proud.
Oh.
And that's all. I thought there was going to be a lecture that will be followed by all that,
Okay.
talking to me about the importance
Yes.
of academics and stuff like that. No, there was nothing of that sort. All that he said was, I hope you do us proud, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And I was taken aback because, I expected a lot, because that's all your, the mindset back then
Absolutely.
was so different, So coming that from a principal, I was so happy that I was going to a right school.
So we can say he was so unique in his thoughts and so progressive even in those times.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm sure you are in touch with a lot of former students of your batch and the batches after that. And I'm sure you have been watching the journey of Children's Academy
Yes.
to what it is today. How would you like to elucidate that journey?
Well, my life changed a lot. Once I was in the school, it changed a lot, in the sense I never thought of dance as a serious career. As a kid, I didn't even think of a career. And it was in the school that I realized that, it's okay if you're fond of dramatics. It's okay if you're fond of dancing. There's nothing wrong. My parents too, luckily, had the same approach. But of course, I did want to study. But the whole idea that, hey, there can be a career
Yeah.
or a passion that you could follow,
Yeah.
and you can look beyond academics.
True.
So that was something which was, amazing. And I even later, I was in touch, with the teachers and the school journey itself. I was quite surprised that, a school is not like this, is not even, I mean, it's not pointing out all your flaws. I mean, they were not flaws, but when you're told you're not good at mathematics,
True.
there's something wrong with you. Why can't you learn mathematics?
Yeah.
Why can't you do well in mathematics? But the school did help me to do that too, you know. And then later, like you asked about the journey of the school, I mean, I kept reading things about the school and the progress and the unique approach. You just mentioned about Bhatt sir being, having quite a different thought process. And I don't know, a visionary maybe?
Correct.
Because the schools around us back then were very different. And here was a school which had a completely different approach. So the progress also of the school was very interesting, because I would always find things like, oh my God, what's this? What's this festival all about that they're doing? There's so much of importance to cultural activities, which back then not all the schools focused upon. So focused on. So I was quite happy about that, and it's just going. I mean, it's never disappointed me. Even back then, it never disappointed me, and even now, I'm so proud. And when people talk about, when they ask me, which school did you go to? Though I was here in the school only for 2 years.
Is that all?
Yes.
Oh.
But when they ask me, about my school, I always say it was Children's Academy.
Wow. Okay. So that's how our vision is also created, rooted in tradition, but yet progressive very much. So although you now mentioned you were here only for 2 years, but Children's Academy boasts of holistic development. So how did Children's Academy help you in, in the passion of, you had a passion for dance, or did you develop it here?
No, I always had it. It was always there. It's just that, I just joined dance classes that were around me, so whatever, like the Bharatnatyam classes that I joined earlier, I had to discontinue because the teacher left and for another town or something like that. And then the main reason why I joined Children's Academy was because of the Bharatnatyam classes. It helped me a lot because the classes continued even after I stopped coming to the school, after my 10th standard, because the classes existed. They were here, right? So I continued and I did my Arangetram, and I was in touch with the school because I used to come to the school premises, right? And I was always a part of the school activities, even back then. Even though I was in my college years, doing my college BA and later my post-graduation. But I always, attended all the school functions. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I did participate in something that was held in the school. I'm not too sure about that. But it was always an encouraging, atmosphere. And I think it was a school that helped me a lot to, like I said, the confidence building part, right? Stage.
Yeah. That's the forte of Children's Academy. No event is without a dance recital, or even giving a platform to these students who have the slightest of talent and then letting them forget about the fear which they may experience on the stage. That's about Children's Academy. Talking about you, I have been informed that you are an established and an acclaimed Bharatnatyam dancer. I would like to know about your journeys. After you left school, yes, you were attending dance classes and you did your Arangetram from here. But what later?
Well, the focus in general, like I said, the mindset of everyone is, you finish your graduation and then what, right?
Correct.
You either do your post-graduation, or back then girls just got married and, I was lucky. I had a lot of options. So my parents were pretty open to the idea of, anything that I wanted to, follow.
Wonderful.
So I looked around and I kept dancing. There was no stage in my life when I did not dance.
Okay.
So I was always dancing. I was into theatre for a bit. And I didn't know how I could, take it up as a career. I had no clue about that. And, nobody really helped me. Because even till today, the dance students are lost because they don't know how to make it a career out of it. So I decided to experiment with. I did a lot of other things like computers, because back then everybody was getting into computer engineering or computer whatever science. I tried that a bit, but I wasn't interested. I realized, no, this is not for me. I did a little bit of screen printing, not for me. I did my post graduation in my master's in English literature, and after that, I was like, okay, I'm still dancing, but what do I do next? How do I make it, my occupation, my career?
Okay.
And I started doing shows, performances for festivals and so on.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was very gradual, me being a professional, from being an amateur to being a professional, was very gradual, because the journey is pretty tough. To tell you the truth, the journey is very, very tough, because if you think about making it a career, when you talk about career, it's always money, right? And you don't make much out of it unless you're teaching.
Correct.
Right? I was not so interested in teaching earlier, but then I somehow got interested. I started teaching in a school. I taught in Jamnabai.
Oh.
That's where my daughter went.
Okay.
So I started teaching over there, and that's when I also started learning the importance of teaching and choreographing.
Okay.
And that's how I got into choreography. And then I started. I was in the school only for 4 years, and after that I had my own students, and then we started slowly performing at festivals and wherever we were invited.
Okay.
So it was very gradual, very gradual.
So when you say we, is it the troupe that you're talking about?
That's right.
Okay. So you have your own dance group
Yes, that's right.
that performs. So this is Bharatnatyam that you're talking about. Have you ever tried experimenting with other dance forms as well?
Yes, Kathak.
Maybe a fusion with them?
Well, I should again thank the school for this. The teacher, Guru Bharat Solanki, who taught in the school, also had arranged for a Kathak teacher back then. And I think it was for some special performance for the school or something like that. So he asked me to learn, my guru said, why don't you, try a little bit of Kathak? So I learned a little bit of Kathak back then, but I went back to my original love for Bharatanatyam.
Okay.
And when I was teaching in Jamnabai, you know how it is in school. There are so many events happening, and it's challenging at times, to present something for that particular occasion.
Correct.
And that's when I started experimenting a little bit. I wouldn't call it fusion, because that I think word is so corrupted now.
Okay.
Right? It's though it is fusing of two ideas, but it's corrupted, because you find so many times performances that happen. You have the gestures of a Bharatnatyam dancer, but the music is something else, Western.
Yeah.
So that word itself I don't like now. But I have experimented a lot, like taking up some poetry.
Okay.
Okay, English.
All right.
And performing. So as long as the soul of
Emoting it in the Bharatnatyam
That's
way.
right, yeah.
Okay.
as long as you're within the parameters of
Yeah.
your
So
dance
medium
form.
could be any.
Anything.
The performance is Bharatnatyam.
So I did experiment a lot. So there are times when I get into that, zone.
Yeah.
I want to experiment, or I want to fuse some ideas, or I want to collaborate with some other dancers or artists.
Uh-huh.
It could be anything, paintings.
Correct.
So that's how I slowly started experimenting,
Yeah, a beautiful world is what I can imagine. But being a teacher in a school, I'm sure a dance teacher in a school choreographing, a school has a lot of demands, as in they are not only interested in Bharatnatyam, unless you're running only Bharatnatyam classes. But if they are presenting their students for various events and functions, they need a variety.
Right.
So was there any such demand on you that nahi theek hai, aaj aap Bharatnatyam mat sikhaiye, you let's have some Kathak or a folk dance? So how did you deal with these
Luckily,
demands?
in that school, there were folk dance teachers too, of different styles.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to go through that. But a theme is given to you.
Correct.
And you're asked, let's say, involve all the students who are dancing,
Yeah.
irrespective of the style. And also, let's involve the drama students.
Oh, wow.
So there have been, yeah, in the past there were some challenges, but what I did was, we did 7 stages of Shakespeare, as you like it, and so had the drama students who did the narration,
Oh, wow.
and there were these students who were learning some martial art form.
Okay.
So, they I don't remember which bit they did. I think the young man, the soldier, yeah.
Okay.
And the Kathak dancers and the Bharatnatyam dancers for something and the folk dancers for something.
Came together.
So we all got together and, it was very much appreciated. And later it was presented as a part of an international festival too in the school.
Okay.
And also used as, I think the topic also, we used it another time for Navarasas,
Oh,
the nine emotions.
Lovely. So now that you mentioned international, tell me about your international exposure. How did it reach to that level?
The first time I went for an international festival was in the year 1988. That was for International Folk Festival, because I was also into folk dancing in school, of course in Children's Academy too, and even later. So we were invited. I represented India. Besides me, there were lots and lots of others. We were, I think, 16 of us or something like that. And we went to Utah,
Okay.
yes, for the International Folk Festival.
Wow.
So that was the first time I performed abroad. And after that, I think it all started in the year 2000. And even in the year 88, we went to London, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after that, it was the year 2000 where I went as a part of Rotary International, a team, group study exchange program. And I went there as a dancer. There were some doctors, lawyers, etc. And that's where the first time I gave, I think, a solo performance.
Oh,
Yeah, at a temple, an Indian temple.
wow.
And that's how it began. And then after that, I used to just write to people. Back then, Hotmail was pretty new.
Yeah.
And people used to respond, and your mails used to not go into spam.
Correct.
So people responded to you, and it was very easy. It was easier getting a performance abroad than in India.
Must be so encouraging.
Absolutely. So I performed at universities, Rice University, Cornell University, and many others, University of Houston. And then, of course, once you start, it's...
That was your global platform, global exposure. But coming back to your roots, talking about Children's Academy, that one important thing that you learnt here, which has remained with you.
I learned a lot out here, but the warmth that the teachers gave, which it was amazing, because I went to another school before that. So I saw the drastic change. Of course, it was a smaller school back then, but the teachers were so warm. You could talk to them.
I'm sure.
Absolutely approachable. And like I said, my mathematics, I was weak in mathematics, but I think one of the teachers took it up as a challenge. Dubey sir.
Oh, okay.
And and I did get a first class.
Wow.
That back then it meant a lot, right?
Of course,
A
of
first
course.
class.
Yeah.
And of course Mukundan sir.
Yes.
He was my favorite. Absolutely my favorite. It was because of him that I got interested in literature later on.
I can understand.
And it was because of him that I took up,
And I'm sure that must have helped you to create those dance dramas as well.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
And all the other teachers too, they were very, very warm. So there was a rapport,
The connect.
The connect was definitely there. So brought the subject closer to you,
I'm sure.
So there was the warmth that the teachers gave. So, and also, like you said, the holistic way
Yeah.
of looking at education back then was unheard of in these parts of the suburbs.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So the school was so different, and it was, for me, it was like, hey, here is a school which is so different. So I knew, I stood out, amongst like my neighbors, and there were so many of us who went to different schools. But children's academy.
Yeah.
Maybe
And let's not forget, all those things offered at the bare minimum means. The resources were minimum.
Yes.
So, to offer, I think that's quite creditable. So, what is that one skill that you learned which has probably helped you even till date in your profession, in further polishing your profession?
I think confidence.
Okay.
Confidence, definitely. Uh, also, also the fact, I was very secure about the fact that I love dancing.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing wrong with that. I felt very secure. I felt absolutely secure that it's absolutely fine, Namita. It's okay. You can dance all your life.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. It's okay if you do not score 70%, in a particular subject.
Yeah.
So the confidence in my own art form, I think must have begun. I always was a confident person, but it gave me security. I think
Wow.
it was a school that I should thank.
Any teacher which has left an indelible mark, burnt a memory?
Absolutely no doubt about it. It has to be Mukundan sir.
Okay. How would you like to elaborate about your association with him?
His calm demeanor.
That's true.
Absolutely calm. I'm always encouraging. I do not remember him yelling. I do not remember him saying anything negative. He was always encouraging. Always. So I was absolutely awed by the fact that here is a teacher who is not yelling at me and who is explaining things to me no matter how many times I ask him, So his teaching, his style of teaching definitely left some impression on me, a deep impression on me. Until today, probably when I teach my students, unknowingly, maybe I'm using the same techniques,
Correct.
not as effectively, maybe, but maybe I'm trying. So it definitely has left a very strong impression on me.
And what advice would you like to give to the students who want to take up dance as maybe a future career or a profession?
Yeah. I would say, the earlier years the formative years are very important, right? So when the confidence building starts, that's the stage when it starts.
Correct.
So you must have confidence in your own art form and your own skills.
Correct.
That is something which has to come from within. And don't give up. Just don't give up. It's never going to be easy for an artist. Nobody ever told us that it's going to be easy. It's never going to be easy. But just don't give up on your passion or your art form, especially art form.
Yeah.
Do not. It's a talent. Not everybody has that talent. Everyone's born with so many talents, right?
Yeah.
But just don't give up on that one thing that you like.
Okay.
And the formative years are very important.
Very, very crucial.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what message would you like to give to the listeners of this interaction, say 50 years hence?
Well, you're a lucky lot. Technology is going to be so different and so advanced, right? Learning is extremely important no matter what kind of learning. It's just that you have to understand what is it that you deep down like, and do not hesitate to pursue it, because even at this age now, I see so many of my students who are CAs and who are physiotherapists, who are chemical engineers, and they want to give up their careers and go back to dancing. So what is it? Why is it the need to express yourself, or whatever you may call it? It's so strong. So probably 2070, it's going to be different.
I'm sure.
The focus will be changing, right? And maybe this slot is more practical,
Yeah.
right? But just remember, it's a beautiful journey of, you know, what you call an education.
Yeah.
Yeah. So learn as much as you can,
Yeah.
and don't give up on learning of any kind. Yeah.
That's Namita Bodajee, someone who took her talent seriously, chased her passion, and turned it into a full fledged career, not just in her own space, but also on the global platform. She is a very proud Children's Academy alumna. Thank you so much for joining us today, Namita. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
The pleasure was mine too.